Hey everybody, this is Darren back with a final recap for season 4 of The Legend of Vox Machina. So I've been making individual videos for each episode of season 4 of The Legend of Vox Machina. Now with the finale here and available, I'm going to recap the last 3 episodes, including the finale, because in my opinion, the last 3 episodes could easily be a 1 hour and a half episode because they're all connected in both tone and story. So Episode 10, The Poisoned Ear, begins where the last episode ended, with the group emerging from the fallen temple down 2 members, while Pike emerges in Thar Amphala. Now, she's come through the portal, and she's got one thing on her mind, and that is to confront the Whispered One's minions on her own. Now, fortunately for Pike, they don't want to fight. In fact, she's been invited by the Whispered One to his castle, where he reveals himself to be Gideon, which we all knew. And the last temptation of Pike begins as he shows her not only that he does need her help, but he's willing to bring back Grog from the dead in order to secure it. Now, the rest of the team returns to Whitestone, where Keyleth decides to try and grow the plant she found in Delilah's lab, while Tyrion begins working on a way to get them through the Whitestone orb. Now, I love seeing the return of Laura, Kima, Cassandra, Gilmore, and Jarrett coming together to mourn the missing Grog and Pike. But one of the things I actually really love about this episode is the tension between Percy and Cassandra. Now, this is a very exposition-heavy episode, which is what needed to be to set up for the rest of the season. And the team prepares to retrieve Pike and finds himself ultimately fighting against their friends. But I really love this scene between Tyrion and Vax, because it shows not only their relationship, but also how their growing relationship, but also how like Tyrion is really starting to take things seriously. Like he's beyond the fact that he's beyond his delusions about adventure and seeing that there's a real cost to everything. But ultimately, the friends do end up fighting each other, and did it feel a little heavy-handed? Yes, but also did kind of enjoy the callback from the end of the first season at the fight at the Ziggurat, especially with Percy and Cassandra squaring off again. Now, one of the other things we do get to see is we get to see kind of our first look at the gods of Exandria in this episode. And I think that in many ways that's a tease to what we're going to see in the final season. But this kind of leads into episode 11, Let the End Begin, which continues the story as Gideon leaves Pike to make her decision with the body of Grog laying next to her, and the rest of Vox Machina make their way to Thar Amphala. And Vax gets a literal glow up when they realize that the Blight was actually a boon from the Raven Queen. Now, we get another great action sequence as the Beastmaster takes Vexalia and Vax discovers something about his new skills. Pike continues to plead to the Everlight and gets no answer. Now, I cannot praise Ashley Johnson's performance enough. She absolutely just, she delivers with every moment, and she serves up some great, just emotional moments throughout this episode. Like, she literally does things that almost kind of brought me to tears. Now, Gideon, he begins to lose control of his troops when one of them falls and can't be brought back. And we get to kind of see kind of the limits of the bad guy's power and especially his influence. Now, Vox Machina, of course, they come up with a plan to rescue Pike as Gideon begins the next part of his ascension. Now, with Vax finding Pike, he discovers something different about their friend. Now, the rest of the team will discover that as well when we find out that she has no intention of leaving and is willing to fight them to allow for the ascension to continue. Now, the final scene of this episode just leads into probably something that's really, well, not even probably, it's just like really great, leads into the final episode, the ascension. Now, Pike squares off against Vox Machina and finally lets out all of the rage and anger and pain that she's been keeping inside. It's probably one of my favorite moments in the series and adds so much depth to Pike as a character. It has so much resonance. It has a little bit more than the Bar's Lament for me, especially when Pike says, "Who protects my heart? Who heals me?" Like, those are some amazing moments, and Ashley Johnson just totally destroys that moment. Now, Grog ultimately comes back for the dead, and it's never explained how. Now, he doesn't have the immortality stones inside him like Gideon's minions, so I think that mystery will be something that will get explained in the final season, hopefully. He also gives a great speech, like especially towards the end of that moment, that I think is really great, and especially some really great writing in these last 3 episodes, especially between the characters. Now, now Vox Machina, they spring into action, of course, like they always do. And it's a great, beautifully choreographed and brilliantly animated sequence. And both Keyleth and Vax are actually able to team up to end the threat of the Whispered One once and for all. Now, this entire sequence is, again, just beautifully done. And at the end of it, it actually finally allows the team to return to Whitestone and some relative peace, or so they thought. Now, in a brilliant move that could only have come from the writers and those who know the world of this story and its characters, that entire battle was a ruse by Gideon to get someone to finally kill his mortal body. It's also brilliantly played out by Andy Serkis, who gives me chills in like every moment, because he's just so brilliantly, those moments are just so brilliantly acted. And he plays a character that not only revels in the extent of his long plan, but also how he's been manipulating Vox Machina the entire time. Now, to make matters worse, like, he parades the team in front of the world and forces them to choose either to join him or to kill Vax. Now, they make a choice that will have some interesting ramifications for them in the final season, but it isn't enough to save Vax'ildan when he defies the New God's order and pays the price for it. Now, I truly love this last season and where it leaves Vox Machina at the end. And one of the biggest issues they faced this season was their inability to talk to each other. Now, they were so fractured by their own needs that even in battle, they weren't really together. Now, I think if you look at the season in contrast to the others, you see that this group didn't really fight like a team the way they did like before the Chroma Conclave. Like, even with the Chroma Conclave, they fought as a group. In this season, and one of the things that they really kind of hammered home in the writing is that as much as these people love each other, as close as they are as family, they don't trust each other. All the things that weren't said between them, all the things that they didn't reveal, it just showed that lack of trust. And it ultimately paid the price for it, both publicly and as a team. Now, they are, at the end of the season, they are broken, humiliated, and more. And I'm excited to see where the next season begins with them. Now, one of the other things that I love about this season is how the Whispered One was able to manipulate them. Now, not only by inspiring Tyrion to bring the team back together, but by also kind of feeding into Pike's growing lack of faith in the Everlight. The fact that he planted seeds of doubt with her through Xerxes from last season, and that he was manipulated himself, is just kind of a testament to how cunning he is and how long this plan has been in motion. Season 4 of The Legend of Vox Machina is probably one of the best seasons of not only animated television, but just television in general. It hits all the marks, both in action, tone, theme, and character. It lays the foundation of so many interesting and new things that I'm looking forward to in the 5th season. But it also calls back to and creates moments that remind you of everything you not only love about these characters, but every flaw that they have as individuals and as a team. Like, I'm so looking forward to season 5 and how they kind of resolve all of these issues, and especially what happens with the characters and how they're perceived in Exandria going forward. But I want to know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments. What did you think of season 4? What were some of your best moments from the last 3 episodes? What are you looking forward to in season 5? Let me know. Love to talk about it. Till next time.